The Detroit Lions are finally on the positive end of receiving some news today. As well, one of the secret weapons is about to return, not only on defense, but on special teams. And well, we're going to talk about, we're going to dive in on just who that is and what that means to the Detroit Lions right now.
Pressured by Hutchinson, he goes down again.
All right, welcome back, and thank you for joining Rockhound Detroit Lions. My name is Will Rock, and I can't thank you guys enough. Appreciate you for joining us, man. So you know the drill. Let's like, share, and subscribe. Would really love it if you guys could subscribe and shoot this thing past 13K. Excellent job. Over 2,500 new subs in the last 3 weeks now, and it's just been an incredible ride, man. And you know what? The Detroit Lions season, it's really just beginning. It really is. When you think about where we are coming out of the bye at 5-2, the NFC North outside of the Green Bay just looks like it just looks like a wide open, it's like a free-for-all right now. You really don't know who's going to be there in the end, but at the same time, I feel like the Lions are going to be getting a lot of players back, and that starts with who's coming back and what just happened today. At least it's been announced by an insider, and I think when Dan addresses the media here at about 3 o'clock, he'll probably also address it as well. Jordan Schultz says, Lions designating linebacker Malcolm Rodriguez to return from IR, and he'll begin practicing this week. Obviously coming back from the ACL, and what this does for Calvin Shepard, man, I think it's big. I think they have a good relationship. Look, Rodrigo's been one of the guys that he trusted the most, especially as a rookie, over a lot of the vets in that room. So I'm going to bring you through it, man. I'm going to tell you everything of how I feel things are falling right now, and where I believe that Malcolm Rodriguez is going to be able to help this team. But as expected, Malcolm's going to begin practicing before the Lions, Vikings game here week 9. And Schultz also indicated that the team was managing the expectations and allowing Rodriguez ample time, which I think is key, ample time to get back into playing shape. So the question is why now, right? There's timing, and then there's perfect timing. And this is perfect timing, in my opinion. Malcolm Rodriguez suffered an ACL during last Thanksgiving's game against the Buffalo Bills, a game that we also lost Ali McNeil. And it was a season-ending injury. Right away, obviously the news coming out after the game was not great, immediately required surgery, and it was a lengthy rehab. Now, during the OTA process this spring, and, early summer this spring, Dan Campbell addressed a press conference, and he said that the timetable was set to conservative, right, as a target for the return towards midseason, leading kind of to November for Malcolm Rodriguez, which really pushed the practical return window back a bit when you think about how long it takes to come back from these things. And Rodriguez himself described the process as a long rehab. And Dan Campbell also described the same thing as, mentioning player first, which I think is critical to think about what this team does, how they do it, how they take care of their players, and why players are really not rushed back. So here we are. It's almost November. It's definitely midseason, and Malcolm is coming back. So spot on by Dan Campbell. Good call, right? So looking back at the timeline of the recovery, and it was complicated, right? There was a post-operative scar tissue that required a second cleanup procedure this offseason, which really delayed that normal return-to-play progression, which prolonged his recovery window, I guess is the best way to say that. Rodriguez really credited the second surgery for helping him to regain flexion and range of motion, which is huge, right? Especially for anyone playing sports, but even just normal day-to-day. The Lions coaching staff has always emphasized something, though. They've always emphasized patience, building confidence, especially before deploying any player into a practice or any game situation. It's always been their MO. I think it will always be their MO. I think that Dan Campbell, being a former player, knows how important it is. And a lot of the coaches are former players, right? Knows how important it is that your body is right. Because if your body's not right, you end up like Emmanuel Mosley, potentially, right? Maybe comes back too early, maybe not doing enough, and things happen again. We don't want to see that happen again to Malcolm. So I feel the Lions do a really good job here. And especially when they're returning players from a long injury like this. And honestly, there was really no reason to rush him back, especially as this team has had a pretty solid and steady stable of playmakers in the linebacker room this year. It's just been an absolute breath of fresh air for once, knowing that you have 3, 4, 5, 6 guys in that room that all can play at a high level. And so with this here's the reason why, though. Why now? Why the timing? And regardless of this happening, I think that Malcolm probably would have been back this week too. But the recent hamstring and the knee injuries to Zach Cunningham, right, the linebacker that we brought in, he was placed on IR. And after the Lions placed him on IR, Dan Campbell indicated in a press conference shortly after that Malcolm Rodriguez was to begin practicing after the bye. Here we are. Again, it's week 9. Bye was done yesterday. So just perfect timing, right? Not to say that injuries are ever a good time or a perfect time, because there's really not. And it's not perfect time that Zach Cunningham got injured. That's not what I'm saying either. It just kind of left a slot open for linebacker depth on the depth chart for Malcolm Rodriguez to slide back in if and when he's ready to go. Obviously, the Lions are still going to have to make some sort of a coordinating move. They're not going to leave a spot open, I don't believe, for the next week, 2 or 3. Which brings me to my next point. That means when he starts practicing today or tomorrow, that his 21-day window will open, and he'll have 21 days to get back, just like Aleem McNeil did. And they pushed that out, to the 3rd game, about the 3rd week. So while that return is anticipated, the team has always taken a measured approach, right? They've considered all players, needing to regain, the full readiness, right? Football readiness, football shape. There's being in shape, right? There's lifting weights, there's running, there's cardio, and then there's football shape. Totally different. Tons of short area burst, and that requires a lot more, stress on the body. So it's going to take a little bit of time. And right now, I feel like the earliest return window opportunity is still mid-November. It's no earlier than week 10. Highly doubtful that Malcolm would be playing in this weekend's game. I wouldn't think that he's needed anyway. And I say that, as he ramps up from non-contact drills to live reps, I think that that's the best practical plan to reintroduce him, into special teams, probably to get started, and some sub packages while he's monitoring, or while Dan, I should say, is monitoring the snap counts and getting him ready for football contact tolerance, because the football contact tolerance, I think, is the biggest thing, right? You have to get hit, and you have to go hit somebody multiple times. Your body is soft, and that's the whole football shape thing. His body's soft right now. He's hard as a rock, probably. You know what I'm saying? But he's soft. He hasn't gone out and hit anybody. So then they'll expand that. Once he gets through that football tolerance portion of this, I think that the Lions obviously will, more than likely, they kind of have to, expand the responsibilities. And as conditioning obviously returns to its normal form, and his confidence is the most important thing that returns to the normal form, because anytime you come back from an ACL or Achilles or anything like that, confidence is key, right? Knowing that you're going to be okay. So where do the Lions go from here? And why is this an impactful move for the Lions? I think that his return value is twofold. Schematically, in versatility and flexibility, I guess that's threefold. It's key here. And so he can play all 3 linebacker positions in Shepard's scheme. He is a former Shepard favorite, probably still is. He offers blitzability, run fit aggression. He'll be able to contribute almost immediately when he gets back on special teams. And I think that he is exactly the kind of multi-tool that all teams love to have, but especially the Lions. And they've really leaned on this style of a position, or this style of player, during all phases of injuries that this team has faced. They've plugged and pulled guys and moved guys around where they needed to, especially in the DB room, right? We just witnessed that over the last couple of weeks, but moving forward, right? They've consistently put guys on this team. Brian Branch can play multiple positions, and Mollett can play multiple positions. Avonte Maddox can play multiple positions. So there's plenty of guys on this squad that are versatile like that. They're a multi-tool. Now, given the team's depth up front in the front 7, I think that they're going to gradually reintroduce, or a gradual reintroduction will preserve the long-term availability for Malcolm Rodriguez while adding a proven and instinctive element to this defense. And I think that it widens the defensive play calling when Malcolm does get inserted back in, especially with 4 linebacker options. I think that the team will be using some of the four linebacker sets from time to time. I believe I've seen it once or twice in the past couple of weeks that I can really put my fingers on, but I do believe that is something that that Kelvin Shepard is graduating towards at some point with this defense. A lot of linebacker play. So when play calling choices are needed, and you need to keep starters fresh, right, in late game situations, late into the season, Malcolm helps with that. And look, if his return is expected, to be the timeline, it is what it is, right? If it's in 3 more weeks, it's in 3 more weeks. If it's in 2 weeks, it's in 2 weeks. I think that the Lions are going to get back a versatile, high-motor linebacker who immediately upgrades the special teams unit in lieu of Sione Vaki, who's also been missing. And they're also going to get a rotational defender. And I think that the Lions and the coaching staff are all that much better when Malcolm gets back. Thank you for watching and listening to Rockhound Detroit Lions. Take care.
Pressured by Hutchinson.